it's an art form, and I never really realized that.
It's like this mosaic of ideas.
It can totally transcend age groups. It's quite special.
Today on Spotlight, we're going to inspire your heart with art inside horsehair pottery, the Navajo technique, and the legend behind it. Plus, the art of choreography from one of the best in the field. And then a master engraver talks about his old-fashioned method. But first, Buddhist monks create a mandala made of sand. Wait until you see what they do at the end. It's Sunday, and you're watching the Emmy Award-winning Spotlight.
This mandala is impermanent. Same look like our life.
A work promoting peace in a time of turmoil to remind us that all of life is impermanent.
My life is very short. People cannot understand impermanence. We are going to changing and moment to moment changing. This mandala is same impermanence.
Over the course of 3 days, this group of monks created an intricate work of art at the Student Center of Webster University. Grain by grain, the monks assembled the World Peace Mandala. The intricate design represents the world's religions. The dove in the center, superimposed on a globe, is a symbol of peace on earth.
We are doing these 3 days. It is World Peace Mandala. It is special for all people and all religions. It's for unity, friendship, and equality.
The monks are from the Dalai Lama's Drepung Gomang Monastery in southern India. Exiled from Tibet, they understand the turmoil of politics all too well.
These people, the Tibetans, if they're my age, they have walked out of Nepal, over the Himalayan mountains. Many of them have seen death on that trek to get to freedom in India.
They are by far the most advanced philosophical systems on planet.
Patty Maher organizes the Sacred Art Tour when the monks visit St. Louis.
His Holiness the Dalai Lama, I was drawn to because of his extremely intelligent mind, but his simple philosophy of kindness, compassion, the temple is your body, get to know thyself.
Have a right to achieve happy life.
The current Dalai Lama is the spiritual leader of this group of monks and the world's 6 million Tibetan Buddhists. The Nobel Prize winner has been in exile from his home for over 5 decades. Nevertheless, he maintains a sense of humor and is optimistic about the future.
But later part of 21st century could be more peaceful world, more compassionate world, if we make an effort now.
It is that message of hope and harmony that brings the monks to this college campus.
We need all world and all people. We need peace and compassion, life and peace life. So we don't need any problem and suffering in our worlds. So we're doing these mandalas for all world peace, for all sentient beings.
So while they're doing this, they're meditating on world peace, saving all beings, all creatures, anything that lives.
The monks say that given its international focus, Webster University is a good place to create a symbol of world peace. Over the course of 3 days, many students paused between classes to marvel at the process.
And it's a lot of precision, so they are really, really good. They're dealing with three-dimensionality. Instead of it being flat, you actually make the sand into little dunes.
I think it's really intricate. I think it's very symbolic of how life is.
I see the same students returning. And it just kind of turns into a little bit of a sacred meditative place, even though it's the lobby of the student union.
For many Westerners, the culmination of this 3 days of work may be difficult to comprehend. Once the last grains of sand are in place, the monks begin an elaborate ceremony and erase the work of art.
It's same our life, impermanent. So day to day changing, minute to minute changing.
They will brush it all up. There's always a gasp. There's usually tears. They'll put some of the sand in little bags to give to everyone present. And then we will walk to a body of water somewhere on campus.
Because, according to Buddhism, life is like a river. It seems to flow, yet it is in a constant state of change.
As if it's a river or water, it'll dissipate. It'll come in contact with flora, plant life, fauna, animal life. It will dissipate into the air as clouds, and that energy will spread. So it's beautiful symbolism.
Follow HEC Media on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
What she's given me is horsehair. The tail works the best. So we're going to pull out all that loose little stuff. And that's what we're going to use to burn on our pot. This is going to become the braid around it. Yeah, this is Odin. This pot has been bisque fired, so it's hard. If I was a glaze person, this is when I'd put glaze on it, but I like to make things a little more natural, so we're going to heat this pot up to 1300 degrees. The origins of horsehair pottery is actually a Navajo technique. This is a very old art form. It's nice and warm coming out of there now. The legend goes, a Navajo woman was bending over a pit, because they would do pit firing, and her hair caught on a piece of pottery, and it made a great mark. And so they went and got some of their horses' hair, put it on there to empower their horses. It's right at 1400 degrees, so we're good. So let's go, take it out. If this was at night, you'd see this pot glowing. The heat is just blowing off of the top of it. Now this is a horse owner that's come to help. Too much wind. Yeah, go ahead and put yours on the inside. There we go. You come close. We got to keep the wind off this pot. See it run? That's what we want. We want that run, and we want the smoke running up the pot. Pot's really hot, but it's cooling off real fast. See, I'm holding the horsehair real loose, because if I hold it straight, I'll get a straight line, but who wants a straight line? We want the kinks. See how it kinks up? That's what we're trying to get, is that kink. So that pot is already cooled off. We want to leave some spots without horsehair. It's the contrast we're looking for. So this pot is basically finished. We will still, after it cools, knock off, see all this loose stuff, we'll knock that off, polish it up, and then we'll put a braid around it to show the true color of his hair. And this is from Odin's hair, so Odin's name will be written on the bottom with my name because he's one of the artists. So that's a piece of pottery, and it's finished. My pottery is not mass produced. It's all handmade pieces. I hand throw all these pieces. You can actually even see my finger marks in the piece of the pottery. Even the shape of this. Look at the shape. It's Mother Earth shaped. It's got that fat, good Mother Earth feel. And that's what I want. I want my pots to feel earthy. This is a kind of a traditional Southwest squash pot. I did not invent this technique, and so I feel like I'm honoring the Navajo by using a shape that is a traditional shape. I just love making these pieces of pottery. This is what I do. It's rewarding for me. I feel like I'm giving back to the horse community, And the horse community, I think, is getting something from these. I couldn't think of a better way to make my pottery.
HEC has been bringing you positive programming and award-winning content for decades. Arts, education, culture, in-depth discussions, films, and more. All in one place, hecmedia.org.
My choreography is abstract in a lot of ways. So it's like this mosaic of ideas. The contact happens with the head right away. And so you come back to your original position, right? Yeah. I think the important thing for me is just having the dancers in front of me, having those bodies, and then sort of sharing the movement together and seeing what that means to the dancer. That's extremely important because when you're working with dancers, you're not just working with dancers, you're working with people and they have their own experiences as well. And so to be able to experience this with the dancers and not separately from the dancers is very important. I'm still curious to see what the piece ends up being. Every rehearsal it unfolds more and more.
Furniture made by a special group, later on Spotlight.
Classic rock fortunately came about in a time when artists were allowed a lot more leeway. They were able to feel inspiration.
Music creates a lifestyle, a culture. It's about clothes you wear, it's about your hair, it's about your eyes, it's about your heart, it's about your life. Music creates something, whether it's jazz, classical, rock, or soul, or hip, I don't care what it is. It is a statement, it's as important, and we get killed for this one, in some ways as religion.
I always talk about rock and roll as the music between the mountains. I mean, rock and roll really is primarily between the Smokies and Rockies with the Northwest thrown in. It is more of a Midwestern Central United States phenomenon.
When I started at Keishi, almost the whole time I was there, it was truly free-form radio. We probably had 7,000 records in the studio, and you could play whatever you wanted to play. You could be creative, and you found new songs that way, and that's why there's so much music in St. Louis that other cities have no idea what the hell it is.
Just why is one area different than why does one city have certain artists that are big there and not in other cities? It could be that we're right in the middle of the United States, the gateway to the West. We're a gateway to certain things. People would come here and this would be a jumping off place for new adventure in the West. Something in the water, you know.
To watch the full documentary, visit hecmedia.org.
1, 2, 4.
Though he is only in his 20s, T.J. Muller has been fascinated by music from the 1920s since he was a boy.
I can remember my mum singing the tune Babyface to me. Let's see. Babyface, you've got the cutest little, that one.
I'm up in heaven when I'm in your warm embrace.
It is no coincidence that Babyface is in the repertoire of the Arcadia Dance Orchestra, because its founder, conductor, musical director, cornet player, and star crooner are all T.J. Muller.
I felt that it would be incredibly fun to try and put together a group that could, as authentically as possible, recreate that music with the ambition of having a 11-piece orchestra playing regularly in St. Louis, playing the exact same sort of music and repertoire that you could expect to hear in St. Louis if you were to travel back in time.
TJ named his orchestra for the Arcadia Ballroom in Midtown St. Louis, which later became a bowling alley and eventually a parking lot after old-timey jazz went out of fashion. But TJ's affection for it has never faded.
The 1920s to me just represents a fascinating time in musical advancement in America, in artistic advancement and creativeness. We were moving out of the old world and into the new.
You may have detected by now, TJ is not from St. Louis. He grew up in England, playing music starting at the age of 5. And then one day, when he was 20, he met a band leader touring the UK who happened to be in need of a trumpet player. His name was Pokey Lafarge, and TJ went on to tour with Pokey's St. Louis-based band for 3 years. And that is how TJ fell in love with St. Louis. Today, he lives on the South Side, working out of a living room that looks a little bit like a TGI Fridays.
There's something about the underdog, isn't there, which is always interesting. And I think St. Louis has always been an underdog in terms of the narrative of music history.
TJ began promoting the city's musical heritage first with a group called the Gaslight Squares, and now with the Arcadia Dance Orchestra. At some of their performances, people really do dance.
Ultimately, there's a selfish reason for why I put this all together as well. It's because I wanted to play in an orchestra, and no other orchestra would hire me, so I had to put my own together.
Though TJ had very little formal music training, he met and has been mentored by local jazz legend Bill Mason, still playing his cornet at age 90. And with the help of this old book, TJ learned to transcribe tunes from old records and rearrange old charts to fit the sound of his orchestra. He even built a few instruments to help recreate that 1920s sound.
I'm trying to make that music more and more specific to St. Louis as well. I'm trying to add tunes which I have strong evidence that St. Louis bands were regularly performing and playing, and furthermore trying to find tunes composed by St. Louisans. That last song was Ozark Mountain Blues, recorded in 1929 by the Missourians. The Missourians did start right here in St. Louis. If somebody had an afternoon snack in St. Louis, I'm going to claim them.
The Arcadia Dance Orchestra, happy days really are here again, thanks to all those old songs about tootsies and moochers and sweethearts that really did rhyme, Moon, Spoon, and June. You know, music with sax appeal.
It can totally transcend age groups. It's quite special. It happened, and it's not being remembered. And I think that it deserves to be remembered. I'll see how far I can push it before I fly too close to the sun.
HEC Media, supporting and promoting the arts. Check out our features and shows on theater, dance, music, the visual arts, and more. Find this and all our award-winning content at hecmedia.org.
There are very few people in the U.S. who still do engraving the old-fashioned way, by hand, and only a small handful of those who are so skilled they're referred to as master engravers. But one of those rare artisans makes his home right here in St. Louis.
Years ago when I was learning the trade, they asked me to operate the machine engraver. And it was a little machine operated by hand. Some places now call that hand engraving because of the computer. No, this is actually drawn on by hand, carved by hand.
Richard Neustaedter uses an old set of German-made tools that look somewhat like finely honed nails to create his art.
There's different tools for different pieces. The tool is almost like part of your hand.
I'll explain to people about how this blends with this, and everything blends together. It's a story, it's a picture, it's a piece of art. It's just not three letters thrown together.
Despite the obvious skill and dexterity he uses to create these one-of-a-kind pieces, being an engraver is not originally where Richard thought his career path would take him.
I started out playing baseball and bowling. You know, my desire was to be a ball player, and I hurt my arm. And I spent a lot of time just drawing. And people asked me, were you an artist? I said, no, I was not an artist. I was a ball player. But I had the hand-eye coordination to see things.
More than 6 decades later, that hand-eye coordination has certainly paid off. Richard's work is so well regarded, he was even commissioned to engrave the plaque marking the entrance to Big Cat Country at the St. Louis Zoo. And his famous clientele includes some of the biggest names in sports history.
This is Stan Musial and his wife, Lil. This is Whitey Herzog and me. But I don't really consider any of them, they're just, they're not famous as far as I'm concerned, they're just good guys.
And Richard gives that same attention to all of his clients, regardless of how many World Series rings they've earned.
The fun part is when people tell me that they've been different places and they'll run into someone that's wearing one of my pieces. That's exciting, because people feel good about what they have. And you know, you say, well, I have a Neustaedter piece, I have a Richard piece. That's fun.
I always get compliments when I wear it, always. And then I have them look at it closer, and they see all the engraving on it, and everyone thinks it's very sweet because of the craftsmanship, because of the extra little engraving around it.
It's just unique. It's something you can't find anywhere. And you know, what's interesting is that there's thousands and thousands of jewelry stores, but they can't do what we do. I know that someday that I won't be here, but I know that my work will still be around.
You can find the stories featured in today's show along with past episodes and more at hecmedia.org/spotlight.
When I sand the rough part of the coffee table, it's just basically like I'm sanding all of the rough patches out of my life.
There's nothing like fresh smelling wood, fresh cut wood.
It's an art form, and I never really realized that.
New Nature is a furniture company that uses our furniture as a conduit to teach a job and leadership training program to men with felonies. So for 8 weeks, they come to us and they come in it's like a normal work day for them. They come in and then we teach them from the very ground up how to read a tape measure all the way to how to cut down a tree and then mill wood at a wood mill, or finish sand wood and then the metal work for all the stuff too.
I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I was just trying to push myself to make a change in my life.
The biggest surprise to me is I actually love and admire carpentry work. Love it.
If you've never had a job, especially if you've been out of general public, you kind of don't know what's expected of you as a person. So you may not be doing something maliciously because you're lazy or entitled. You may be doing it because you don't understand. At any job you'll go to, they expect you to show up on time and leave on time and maintain a certain standard of behavior. And if that's not taught, those are the kind of things you learn through life experience.
Rob, he showed me like the ways of nurturing this art of nature, like working with wood and working with your hands. It's more than just building. It was like bringing life to something.
We get guys that don't know anything about woodworking, and they don't know like the steps and like the experience. And so when we get them in here, they're all nervous about what they want to do or what they need to do. So when we start working with them, they have a different perspective on what is to be done. Within like 2 weeks, they see like how it's done, and they're just like, oh, I want to do that. That's what I want to do for a living. It's awesome.
We have about 60 guys who've gone through the program in the last 3 years. More than half of our guys have been in a job for over a year.
I never knew I'd have had a trade in my life, like instead of working fast food jobs. But now I feel like I can go get a job doing mostly anything for real, because I learned a lot of skills.
This is a local Missouri tree. All the steel is forged in Missouri. And even our finished products are all Missouri made. This tree was felled and went to a wood mill, and then all of our students learned how to operate the wood mill, and they come back in kind of these, chunky slabs, and then we take just this steel rod we get in big 20-foot segments, cut it down to length, bend it on our hand bender in the back, clean it, cut it, and then weld them onto these angle brackets on the bottom of it, and then some are painted, some are steel. This table was designed and built for Rise Coffee, and it's actually like a narrow, long dining room table. This is a piece of frosted tempered glass, and it's over motion sensor LEDs, so anywhere you touch it, it just lights up, which is just like super fun and different.
When it's done, you get to look at the finished product, and then you get to look at the blueprint, and you're like, yeah, we did that. It's very satisfactory.
Kind of like one of my major first projects I was working on, and the person that bought it, they were so happy and awed by it. And I wasn't the only one that worked on it, but by me putting the implement on it, it just made me feel great, and I just love that feeling.
This is a beautiful program. It helps you evolve. It helps you become more of a man. This program is everything.
Next week, researchers provide hope of slowing the course of Alzheimer's disease. Plus, art made from remnants of what's been left behind. Wait until you see these creative ideas. Thanks for watching Spotlight. Join us next Sunday at 9:30 a.m. on KPLR 11.